You ever get that feeling where you're scrolling through the PlayStation Store, hoping something, anything, jumps out at you, and yet it's just the same 5 big-budget games staring back like, hey, buy us again! Yeah, same. But here's the thing. Buried beneath all those audio-to-play powerhouses and overpriced remasters are games that most people either skipped, slept on, or never even heard of. I'm talking about the weird, the wonderful, the why didn't anyone tell me about this kind of games, the hidden gems, the ones that quietly deliver unforgettable stories, gorgeous visuals, and mechanics so slick they make some big-name titles look like they're still in beta. And no, these aren't just artsy indies or one-trick ponies. We've got ninja stealth fantasies, time loop mysteries, games where your best friend is an eagle, and even one where you feed sentient cheeseburgers to Muppets. Yeah, that's a real thing. So whether you're tired of the same open-world formula, looking for your next favorite game, or just love feeling like you're in on a secret no one else knows, stick around. We're about to dig up 20 PS5 games that flew under the radar but absolutely deserve your time. Ready to discover what you've been missing? Let's get into it. If you've ever wanted to play a game that feels like a Pixar movie mixed with a classic adventure, Kena. Bridge of Spirits is the hidden gem for you. In fact, one reviewer described it perfectly as Zelda with a dash of Pixar, and honestly, that hits the nail on the head. This game is a gorgeous action-adventure where you play as Kena, a young spirit guide exploring a lush, enchanted land to help restless spirits move on. Visually, it's jaw-dropping. The world is vibrant and alive, full of overgrown forests, ancient ruins, and cute little creatures called the Rot that will absolutely steal your heart. These tiny black puffball-like critters follow Kena around, and you can even collect hats for them to wear. Seriously, it doesn't get more adorable. But they're not just for show. The Rot help you in puzzles and combat, like lifting heavy objects or swarming an enemy to hold it in place while you strike. Kena. Bridge of Spirits plays like the action-adventure games of old, in the best way. You'll be platforming, solving light environmental puzzles, and fighting off corrupted spirits in equal measure. The combat is snappy and surprisingly challenging at times. Kena wields a staff that can transform into a bow, and you'll need to time your parries and dodges against some pretty tough bosses. Don't let the cute graphics fool you. Some of the battles will definitely keep you on your toes. Between fights, you're often exploring the countryside to find collectibles or cleanse areas of corruption, which restores the land's natural beauty and is super satisfying to see. There's a tangible sense of healing the world as you progress. What really makes Kena special is its heart. Ember Lab, the small studio behind the game, crafted a story that, while simple, is genuinely touching. Each main area has you helping a troubled spirit by uncovering their memories and facing the tragedy that befell them. The way the game handles themes of loss and letting go is surprisingly emotional, and it's delivered without a ton of dialogue. The animation and music do a lot of the storytelling. By the time you reach the ending, you'll likely feel a real connection to Kena and the friends she's made, furry or otherwise. This title flew under the radar since it's not a big-name franchise, but it's truly a standout experience on PS5. It's also worth noting this game comes from a small indie team, making its high quality even more impressive. So if you're up for a magical journey with stunning visuals, heartfelt moments, and some good old-fashioned action-adventure gameplay, give Kena Bridge of Spirits a try. It's proof that even small teams can create something truly special, a little piece of playable animation that will stick with you. Stealth fans, rejoice! Origami 2 is here to scratch that ninja itch. In an era where pure stealth games are pretty rare, Origami 2 feels like a love letter to the classic Tenchu or early Splinter Cell days. You play as an assassin with supernatural shadow powers, and the goal of each mission is simple. Sneak in, eliminate or avoid targets, and get out without anyone ever knowing you were there. This game is all about being a ghost. You stick to the shadows, quite literally teleporting between them at times, creep along rooftops, and pick off enemies one by one with stealth takedowns. If you're spotted, you're squishy, so it pays to plan your approach. Thankfully, you have a bunch of nifty tools, smoke bombs, shadow decoys, and special abilities that make you feel like a true ninja stalking the night. What makes Origami 2 stand out is that it fully commits to stealth, letting you tackle levels your way. You can strive for that perfect no detections, no kills ghost run, or you can systematically assassinate every enemy like a vengeful shadow. It's your call. The level designs give you lots of verticality and multiple paths, so you might slink through rafters above or crawl under buildings below. The mechanics are solid, with responsive controls that let you swoop down on an enemy and vanish before his buddy turns around. And if going alone sounds too tense, good news. Origami 2 supports co-op with up to 3 players. Coordinating stealth attacks with friends, like sinking a triple takedown, is incredibly satisfying and adds a whole new layer of fun and chaos if your buddy screws up and alerts everyone. Now, the story in Origami 2 isn't anything to write home about. It's a fairly standard tale of clan conflict and mystical curses, but honestly, the game's focus is on gameplay and it delivers there. The art style is stylized and easy on the eyes with a feudal Japan meets fantasy vibe under the moonlight. It's not a big budget title, so Temper your expectations on production values, but the trade-off is a stealth experience that doesn't handhold or force you into combat. It's sneaking bliss for those of us who miss that style of game. If you've been craving a good stealth adventure where patience and planning are rewarded, give Origami 2 a shot. It might have slipped under the radar, but it's a stealthy little gem that knows exactly what it wants to be, and it absolutely succeeds at it. Just remember, stick to the shadows and you'll do just fine, Ninja. Here's a game that surprised a lot of people, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. After the disappointing Avengers game, many folks wrote this one off before it even launched. Big mistake. Unlike the multiplayer loot grind of Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy is a purely single-player, story-driven adventure, and it nails the essence of what makes the Guardians so beloved. You step into the boots, jet boots that is, of Star-Lord, leading your ragtag band, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, and Groot through a cosmic adventure that feels straight out of the comics with a dash of the movie's humor. And let me tell you, the writing and story here are top-notch. It's got heart, it's got laughs, and even some surprisingly emotional moments too. From the get-go, Guardians of the Galaxy hooks you with the banter. The team is constantly chattering. They'll riff on each other during fights, argue about plans on the Milano, your spaceship, and throw out one-liners that actually land. It makes you feel like part of this dysfunctional family. The story itself is a wild ride through colorful alien worlds, with an original narrative that doesn't just rehash the movies. You even get to make some dialogue choices as Star-Lord that lead to different reactions or little scene changes, which is a nice touch that makes the narrative feel more personal. And I have to mention the soundtrack. It's an awesome mix of 80s rock hits that kick in at perfect moments. Gameplay-wise, Guardians keeps things exciting. You directly control Peter Quill, Star-Lord, blasting away with your blasters and jetting around, but you also command your squad mates in battle. Each Guardian brings something to the fight. Groot can entangle foes in roots, Rocket blows things up, Drax smashes heavy enemies, and Gamora deals huge damage with her sword. Once you start chaining everyone's abilities together, combat becomes a chaotic light show of teamwork. Nail the right dialogue choices and you'll power up the whole squad, all while an epic 80s anthem blares in the background. It's ridiculously fun. Critics and players who actually gave this game a chance will tell you it's one of the best Marvel games in years, especially for its narrative. It even snagged awards for its story. Sadly, the initial skepticism meant a lot of people missed out on it, which is why Guardians of the Galaxy is a true hidden gem. So if you love Marvel or just enjoy a great sci-fi adventure with lovable characters and a killer soundtrack, don't sleep on this one. The Guardians have a galaxy-saving adventure waiting for you, and trust me, it's an absolute blast from start to finish. If you're in the mood for a hard-boiled detective thriller that still lets you roundhouse kick goons in the face, Lost Judgment is the game for you. This hidden gem is a spin-off of the Yakuza series, but you don't need to have played those to dive in. You play as Takayuki Yagami, a street-smart private detective investigating a twisting murder case that takes you through the seedy underbelly of Yokohama and the halls of a local high school. One moment you're examining clues at a crime scene, and the next you're skateboarding down alleyways chasing a suspect or breaking out some martial arts on punks who picked the wrong guy to mess with. The blend of gameplay here is what makes Lost Judgment special. It's part dark crime drama, part action brawler, and part life simulator. You'll go undercover at a high school, coaching clubs like dance and boxing to get intel, and these side stories surprisingly end up as some of the most fun and heartfelt quests. Combat is a blast. Yagami can switch between different fighting styles, Crane and Tiger from the first game plus a new Snake style, to deal with enemies in creative ways, whether you're juggling gang members with kick combos or disarming thugs with joint locks. The game constantly mixes things up with stealth segments, tailing missions, arcade games, even a virtual pet drone to pilot. It's a wild variety, but it all fits because at its core you're a detective willing to do whatever it takes to crack the case. Where Lost Judgment truly shines is its story. It's a murder mystery that keeps you guessing with plenty of twists and moral gray areas. The narrative doesn't shy away from heavy themes, bullying, revenge, the limits of justice, and it's punctuated by some excellently choreographed fights and over-the-top chase sequences that make it a thrilling ride from start to finish. One minute you're debating a suspect in court, the next you're in a high-speed motorcycle chase or battling a gang boss on a rooftop. And through it all, the game manages to balance its serious storyline with the kind of quirky humor and melodrama fans of Yakuza games love. Despite critical praise, Lost Judgment flew under the radar for a lot of players, which is a crime in itself. It's a richly packed game, think dozens of hours of content. That rewards your inner detective and action fan in equal measure. So if unraveling a juicy mystery and busting some heads along the way sounds like a good time, do yourself a favor and give Lost Judgment a shot. You won't regret taking this case. You might have heard mixed things about Dying Light 2 when it launched. It had sky-high expectations and some promises it couldn't fully keep. But here's the thing. Taken on its own terms, it's a fantastic open-world zombie adventure, and absolutely a hidden gem on PS5. You play as Aiden Caldwell, a pilgrim searching for his lost sister, who ends up in one of the last cities, Vildor, and gets caught in the middle of its factions. The story won't blow you away, and the much-touted choice system only mildly shifts some missions and endings. But it's a decent backdrop that drives you through the city's districts and conflicts. Parkour in this game is simply awesome. You can scale almost every building, leap between rooftops, and run along walls with fluid first-person motion. As you unlock more skills, Aiden gets even more acrobatic. Few games make moving around feel this good. During the day, you'll free run around the city, scavenging and completing missions under the safety of sunlight. But at night, the really nasty infected come out in force. Venturing out in the dark is dangerous, but it's also the best time to raid places that are too risky in daylight, creating a tense risk-reward dynamic. Combat is visceral and weighty. It's mostly melee-focused. Expect to dropkick zombies off rooftops and bash skulls with makeshift weapons. You can mod weapons with elemental effects, set zombies on fire or shock them with electricity, and use parkour in fights for stylish takedowns. Smashing a howler's head in, or sending a bandit flying into a spike trap never gets old. The city of Villador is packed with things to do, side quests, parkour challenges, hidden GRE labs, bandit camps, you name it. Each district offers something new, like skyscrapers downtown where the paraglider really shines. Techland has also kept updating the game, adding content and fixes. On PS5, you can even play at a smooth 60 frames per second, which makes all that parkour and combat feel fantastic. Bottom line, Dying Light 2 may not have hit every lofty promise, but it absolutely delivers on being an addictive, thrill-filled sandbox. It's one of those games where you plan to play for an hour and end up spending all night, in-game and in real life, because it's just that fun to run, jump, and survive. Don't let the early mixed reception fool you. Dying Light 2 in its current form stands tall as a must-play for fans of open-world action or zombie games. Gear up, head out after dark, and remember, stay human. PlayStation fans who've been eyeing Forza Horizon with envy, rejoice. The Crew Motorfest is basically the PS5's answer to that kind of open-world racing festival, and it's a blast. This game takes the solid foundation of the Crew series, which always had huge maps and tons of cars, and refines it into a more focused, fun experience set in sunny Oahu, Hawaii. It's essentially an automotive theme park. You've got a gorgeous island map to explore, dozens of events and races to conquer, and a massive lineup of cars from classic muscle to supercars and everything in between. Motorfest doesn't burden you with an overly serious story. The premise is simply that you're at a car festival. Think bright colors, big party vibes, and an announcer hyping up the next race. What matters is the driving, and Motorfest nails that. The handling strikes a nice balance where it's accessible. You don't need to be a sim expert to drift around a corner in a Lambo, but each car still feels unique. Tear through Honolulu city streets, drift around hairpins on mountain roads, or go off-road, barreling down volcanic slopes. The island offers a ton of variety in terrain, and the game makes sure you use all of it. One of the smart moves the developers made was shrinking the map compared to previous Crew games. Oahu is still sizable, but it's densely packed with detail and activities. You're not driving through empty space. There's always something interesting around the bend, whether it's an off-the-cuff challenge or just a stunning vista begging for photo mode. Events are organized into thematic playlists, which are like mini campaigns celebrating different car cultures. For example, one playlist might be all about vintage classics, taking you through races in retro cars while groovy oldies play, while another focuses on electric supercars of the future. There are even special events paying tribute to particular car cultures and brands. One moment you might be reliving the golden era of Japanese street racing. The next you're celebrating the history of Lamborghini. It keeps things lively and ensures you're not doing the same type of race over and over. Visually, Motorfest is a stunner. Driving at dawn with the sun cresting over the ocean, or at night with Honolulu's city lights twinkling, really shows off the PS5's horsepower. The sense of speed is great too, especially in first-person cockpit view. It can be white-knuckle when you're pushing 200 miles per hour in a hypercar on the highway. You can encounter other players cruising the island and join them for events on the fly. But if you prefer to play solo, you're not missing out. The festival is fun either way. It's fair to say the Crew Motorfest borrows a lot of its party racer formula from Forza Horizon, but that's not a bad thing. There was a gap on PlayStation for this kind of game, and Motorfest fills it with style. It's polished, packed with content, and most importantly, just plain fun to drive in. If you love open world racing where you can pick an event or just joyride at your leisure, give Motorfest a go. It kind of flew under the radar, possibly because people wrote it off as Ubisoft copying Forza. versa, but in doing so, they'd be missing one of the best racing experiences the PS5 has to offer. Start your engines and enjoy the Hawaiian ride. Cowboys, vampires, and a whole lot of over-the-top action. That's Evil West in a nutshell. This game asks, what if the Wild West was infested with vampires and other supernatural horrors? And then just lets you go to town with that idea. You play as Jesse Rentier, a hardened vampire hunter cowboy with an arsenal of wicked weapons and a lightning-powered gauntlet to punch monsters into next week. It's an unapologetically old-school action game. Linear levels, tons of combat, big boss fights, and a story that's there to justify you tearing through legions of bloodthirsty baddies. And honestly, that's all it needs to be. From the get-go, Evil West embraces its wild premise and runs with it. One minute you're riding through a dusty frontier town, and the next you're delving into a mine teeming with gore-covered creatures that definitely aren't in any history books. The combat is fast, chunky, and oh so satisfying. Jesse's equipped with classic firearms, revolvers, rifles, a boomstick shotgun, as well as that electrified gauntlet that lets you zap and juggle enemies like a true supernatural vigilante. You can uppercut a vampire into the air, pump it full of lead, then slam it down in an explosion of sparks. It's visceral and smooth with a mix of melee and ranged attacks that keeps things interesting. As you progress, you unlock more abilities and combos like electrically charged chains to yank enemies or supercharged punches that explode on impact. Every fight feels like a stylish brawl in a crazy Wild West arcade. The game's world is a fun twist on Western visuals. Imagine old saloons and canyons mixed with gothic, hellish lairs and techie monster hunting gadgets. It's a fresh setting for this kind of action, and the graphics really show it off with detailed character designs and fiery explosions of gore. The campaign doesn't overstay its welcome. It's fairly straightforward and can be tackled solo or in co-op with a friend. Co-op makes the chaos even more enjoyable, trust me. The story is B-movie goodness, full of gruff cowboys, scheming vampires, and mad science contraptions. It won't win any writing awards, but it sets the stage for some epic showdowns. Evil West flew a bit under the radar, probably because it's not tied to a big franchise, but it really delivers on pure entertainment. It feels like a throwback to the Xbox 360/PS3 era of action games, in a good way, straightforward, packed with action, and confident in its identity. If you miss the days of just grabbing a controller and blasting through a fun campaign without tons of filler, this game will be your jam. So saddle up and charge your gauntlet. Evil West is a rootin' vampire shootin' good time that you shouldn't pass on if you love some stylish, bloody action. How about an adventure that's all about love and freedom? Haven is a beautiful hidden gem where you play as a couple, you and Kay, who have escaped to a lost planet just to be together. This game is basically a playable love story meets a chill exploration RPG, and it's a breath of fresh air. You control both characters at once, either solo or with a friend in co-op, as they glide over colorful landscapes, explore, and survive in their new world. The core of Haven is the relationship between you and Kay, and it's portrayed in such a genuine, heartfelt way that you can't help but root for them. Moment to moment, you'll be collecting resources, cooking meals, and clearing patches of corruption from the surreal, fragmented world they're on. The movement is super satisfying. You sort of surf over the grass using energy called flow, which makes exploring feel smooth and relaxing. Along the way, you encounter creatures that have turned hostile, and here's where Haven's unique combat comes in. Both lovers fight together in tandem. You assign actions to each, say, one charges up a blast while the other defends, and timing their moves together can stun enemies or deal extra damage. It's simple and not too challenging. More about coordination and keeping with the game's theme of togetherness than hardcore strategy. And if you prefer, two players can each take control of one character, which makes it a perfect couch co-op experience for a pair. What really makes Haven shine is all the little moments between you and Kay. They chat, joke, and sometimes disagree. You get to see their personalities and how their bond grows. You might sit them down to share a meal and a sweet conversation, or have them reminisce about their past as they stargaze at night. It's intimate and charming, and it sold me on their romance completely. The story does have a sci-fi backdrop. You'll learn why they ran away and piece together hints of the society they left. But the spotlight stays on this couple and their hopes of staying free and together. With a gorgeous art style and a mellow electronic soundtrack, Haven creates a vibe that's equal parts romantic and relaxing. It's not about grinding or high-stakes combat. It's about two people building a life on their own terms. If you're looking for something different, a game to play at your own pace, maybe even with someone you love, Haven is a delightful journey worth taking. It'll leave you with a warm feeling, like you just watched a really good sci-fi love story that you got to live yourself. I don't throw around the term mind-bending lightly, but Inscription is absolutely a mind-bending gem. On the surface, it starts as a dark, atmospheric card game. You're sitting at a table in a shadowy cabin, playing a deck-building roguelike against a mysterious silhouette figure with eerie glowing eyes. But calling Inscription just a card game is like calling a Swiss Army knife just a knife. This game continually transforms the longer you play, blending deck-building strategy with escape room-style puzzles and a hefty dose of psychological horror. It's one of those experiences experiences where the less you know going in, the better. So what can I safely tell you? Well, the core gameplay, at least at first, involves cards and creatures. It's a simple but clever card system. You play sacrifices, like weak squirrels, to summon stronger beasts, each with different abilities, and you try to tip a scale in your favor to win. The cards themselves sometimes talk to you. Yeah, it's creepy, giving hints or pleading for mercy. As you win rounds, you'll get to tweak your deck, acquire powerful cards, and make choices like carving sigils into cards to grant special abilities. It's a solid card battler foundation, and even if it were just that, it'd be a pretty good one. Easy to learn, but with enough depth and challenge to keep you hooked. But Inscription doesn't stay in that lane. In between card matches, you can actually get up from the table and explore the dim cabin you're in, uncovering secrets and solving puzzles that directly affect the card game, like finding a safe with a new card or figuring out a code that unlocks something on the table. It's a brilliant mix of genres that constantly has you thinking outside the box, and just when you think you've got a handle on it, Inscription pulls the rug out from under you and morphs into something completely different. I won't spoil the specifics, but let's just say the game breaks the fourth wall and goes places you absolutely won't anticipate. Every time you uncover one layer, there's another layer beneath, like a sinister onion of game genres and narrative twists. The horror element is worth mentioning too. Inscription isn't about jump scares, it's more about a persistent, unsettling vibe. The visuals are intentionally retro and glitchy at times, adding to the feeling that the game itself might be haunted or alive in some way. There were moments where I had genuine goosebumps, not from gore or cheap scares, but from the sheer what the heck is going on tension as the game unravels its secrets. By the end of Inscription, you'll have experienced an adventure that defies categorization. It's weird, it's clever, and it's surprisingly emotional in parts too. This game was critically acclaimed, but I still find a lot of people haven't heard of it, making it a true hidden gem. If you enjoy games that experiment with form and love a good twisty story, and don't mind learning some card game mechanics along the way, give Inscription a try. Trust me. Stick with it past that spooky cabin intro, and you're in for one of the wildest gaming rides in recent memory. If you've got a taste for post-apocalyptic horror and a bit of Slavic mythology, Chernobylite is a hidden gem that will get under your skin, in a good way. This game transports you to the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Yes, the real-world nuclear disaster site, but with a supernatural sci-fi twist. You play as Igor, a physicist and ex-employee of the power plant, who returns to the zone 30 years after the explosion to search for his missing fiancée. Naturally, things have gotten very strange in Chernobyl. The area is crawling with armed mercenaries, other stalkers, and eerie supernatural phenomena linked to a mysterious substance called Chernobylite. It's part survival horror, part RPG, part base building, and all atmosphere. From the moment you step into the zone, Chernobylite nails the creepy vibe. The environments are hauntingly realistic, from abandoned villages and the rusting amusement park to the crumbling reactor itself. But there are also dimensional anomalies and ghostly apparitions that keep you constantly on edge. You'll be exploring during the day, scavenging for supplies like food, meds, and scrap to craft equipment, and trying not to stir up trouble with heavily armed soldiers patrolling the area. Come nightfall, or when you venture into certain dark areas, the supernatural side of the game kicks in, and you might find yourself face to face with otherworldly threats that defy explanation. One cool aspect is how you manage your missions and team. Back at your base, set in a ruined warehouse, you plan each day's excursions. You can even recruit companions, a motley crew of fellow stalkers, each with their own skills and personalities. You'll have to keep them fed and healthy, and you can send them out on side missions to gather resources while you tackle the main jobs. The base building element lets you improve your hideout with workbenches, generators for power, beds for rest, etc., which in turn helps you craft better gear and keep everyone in good shape. It adds a bit of strategy between the story missions as you decide how to allocate tasks each day. Combat and stealth are both viable approaches when dealing with human enemies. You can go in guns blazing with homemade firearms or take a sneaky approach, avoiding conflict and silently takedowning guards. But you're not just fighting soldiers, there are freaky creatures emerging from rifts in reality due to the Chernobylite substance. These encounters can be intense, as ammo and health are limited, so you'll sometimes have to decide when it's wiser to run than fight. The story is non-linear and influenced by your choices. There are moments where you have to make tough decisions. For example, do you risk a teammate's life for a crucial piece of info? And these can lead to different endings. And if someone dies, the game doesn't necessarily end, you might have to continue without them. There's even a unique element where Igor can attempt to change past decisions through some sci-fi gadgetry, adding a twist to how the narrative unfolds. Without spoiling anything, let's just say the story goes to some trippy places by the end. Chernobylite didn't get a ton of hype, but it's a really engaging mix of survival gameplay and story-driven mystery. If games like Stalker or Metro got you hooked on Chernobyl vibes, this will scratch that itch and add a unique time-bending plot on top. So grab your flashlight and your Geiger counter. A twisted tale in the Chernobyl shadows awaits, and it's well worth experiencing. The title might be a mouthful, but like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name is essentially a Yakuza game, and a darn good and underrated one. If If you're a fan of the Yakuza Like a Dragon series, you'll know Kazuma Kiryu, the longtime protagonist. This game is his side story, a bridging chapter that shows what Kiryu was up to after Yakuza 6, setting the stage for the future of the series. But even if you're not deep into Yakuza lore, Gaiden is a blast to play because it delivers that classic formula: hard-hitting street brawls, melodramatic crime story, and an absurd amount of side activities to lose yourself in. Gaiden finds Kiryu living undercover, trying to lay low, hence erased his name, but of course he gets pulled back into trouble. He just can't escape the Yakuza life. The story has him tangled in a new conspiracy and facing off against gangsters and secret agents alike. It's not the grandest tale in the franchise, but it's a cool look at Kiryu in a more covert ops context, while still delivering the emotional punches where it counts. And Kiryu is as stoic and likable as ever, whether he's stoically taking down a dozen thugs or awkwardly singing his heart out at karaoke. When it comes to gameplay, Gaiden goes back to the series' roots in many ways. The combat is real-time beat-em-up style, not turn-based like Yakuza Like a Dragon was, and it feels great. Kiryu has two fighting styles here, the classic Yakuza brawling style and a new agent style that gives him high-tech gadgets like electrified wires and drones to play with. Switching between them on the fly keeps fights fresh. One moment you're doing a traditional flurry of punches and kicks, the next you're Spider-Manning a guy around with a wired gadget. As always, you can use anything in the environment as a weapon. Bikes, traffic cones, you name it. Combat is smooth, crunchy, and cathartic, just how Yakuza fans like it. Outside of the main story, Gaiden is packed with the usual Yakuza buffet of things to do. There's a whole secret base hub called The Castle that's basically an underground adult playground with mini-games galore. There are casino games, underground arena fights, the series' famous karaoke and cabaret club shenanigans, and some off-the-wall new distractions too. You could easily spend hours in these side attractions alone, and it's all optional but so tempting because it's fun and often hilariously over the top. One thing to note, Gaiden isn't as massive as a mainline Yakuza. It's a more condensed adventure, but that's actually refreshing. It's all killer, no filler, giving you a focused dose of what makes the series great. In short, Like a Dragon, Gaiden is a must-play for Yakuza fans and a very enjoyable brawler RPG for anyone else who's curious. It's got the heart, the humor, and the haymakers that the series is known for. If you skipped it because it seemed like a side entry, consider this your invitation to step back into Kiryu's shoes for a while. The Dragon of Dojima still has plenty of fight left in him, and it's an absolute blast to experience. Imagine a Terminator game that doesn't totally suck. Hard to believe, right? Terminator. Resistance Enhanced is exactly that hidden gem. This first-person shooter drops you into the post-apocalyptic future war against Skynet, and it's surprisingly good at making you feel like part of the Resistance. You're sneaking through eerie ruins, hacking terminals, and blasting Terminators with plasma rifles, all while that iconic movie score vibe keeps your adrenaline up. What makes this game special is how it lets you approach missions your way. You can go full stealth, creeping past T-800 patrols with a tense heartbeat in your ears, or you can go guns blazing and turn those endoskeletons into scrap metal. You'll encounter all the classic machines from the films: spider-like hunter-killers skittering in the ruins, aerial HK drones scanning with searchlights, and of course, Arnold's famous T-800 endoskeletons stalking you through the rubble. The freedom in tackling objectives gives it a light RPG flavor. You can loot and craft, talk to fellow survivors in a hub, and level up to unlock handy skills. It's not a super high-budget title, but the developers clearly have a lot of love for the Terminator franchise, and it shows in the details, from flashbacks to John Connor's leadership to little lore tidbits you find scattered around. The enhanced part in the title isn't just for show either. On PS5, it runs smoother and looks better, with improved lighting, 4K resolution, and faster load times, so you're getting the best possible experience of this under-the-radar shooter. The game also throws in multiple endings based on your choices, which is a cool touch, and gives you a reason to replay and see how things could go differently. If you've been itching for that classic Terminator Future War vibe, this game scratches it. It might not have the polish of a big-name shooter, but Terminator Resistance Enhanced delivers a fun and surprisingly immersive Terminator experience that fans shouldn't miss. Trust me, once you hear that Terminator theme kick in as you fight off a wave of machines, you'll get goosebumps. Give this one a shot. It's a blast from the future past you won't regret. How about a mystery that mixes time travel, mythology, and a dash of moral philosophy? The Forgotten City offers exactly that, and it's one of the most engrossing narrative adventures on PS5 that many people missed. The premise hooks you immediately. You find yourself in an ancient Roman city trapped in a time loop under a strict law called the Golden Rule. If anyone commits a sin, everyone in the city dies, turning to gold. Yeah, talk about high stakes. Your job is to explore this city, get to know its 24 inhabitants, and figure out who is going to break the Golden Rule and how to prevent a disaster. Each time the rule is broken, and trust me, it will happen often as you experiment, the loop resets and you start the day over, armed with the knowledge you gained. Think Groundhog Day meets historical murder mystery. What makes The Forgotten City special is its clever, branching narrative. This game actually began life as a celebrated Skyrim mod. It was the first mod ever to win a National Writers Guild award for its script, and the storytelling quality shows. As you talk to the residents, you'll uncover secrets, lies, and political intrigue all simmering under the surface of this seemingly utopian city. You have the freedom to solve problems in multiple ways, perhaps by persuading a character to change their actions, finding a hidden cache of evidence, or even cleverly abusing the time loop to your advantage. There are multiple endings, including a golden ending, if you manage to truly unravel the ultimate mystery behind the city and the golden rule. The sense of satisfaction from piecing together the puzzle and seeing how everything connects is huge. Despite being mostly about dialogue and exploration, the game never feels dull. Each character has their own personality and agenda, and part of the fun is figuring out how to gain their trust, or trick them, to get information. One moment you might be mediating a feud between neighbors, and the next you're racing against time to stop a poisoning, or trying to steal an item without triggering divine retribution. The tension of knowing any wrong move could doom everyone adds a layer of suspense to even simple tasks. If you enjoy games that test your wits and weave a great story, The Forgotten City is a must-play hidden gem. It's not an action-heavy title, it's more about thinking and talking, but the payoff is a series of aha moments that make you feel like a genius detective of ancient Rome. Give this one a shot and keep your moral compass handy. You're going to need it in The Forgotten City. Sometimes you just want to team up with friends and wreck waves of enemies with outrageous powers. Outriders is perfect for that. This is a co-op looter shooter, up to 3 players, where you're basically a superpowered soldier on an alien planet, mowing down foes and scooping up tons of loot. Think Diablo with guns, or a more aggressive, no-nonsense take on Destiny. It's all about charging into battle and unleashing chaos, and boy, is it fun when you and your squad sync up your abilities and just obliterate everything in sight. Outriders gives you 4 distinct classes, each with a different flavor of mayhem. There's a trickster who warps time and space, a pyromancer who sets the battlefield ablaze, a devastator who causes earthquakes, and a technomancer who deploys gadgets and turrets. Whichever you pick, the game encourages you to play aggressively. Most classes heal when you deal damage, so hiding behind cover won't save you. Instead, you're incentivized to dive right into the fray, pull off combos of powers and gunplay, and keep pushing forward. This makes combat super fast-paced and thrilling, as you're constantly on the offensive. Of course, being a looter shooter, the gear is a huge part of the appeal. Enemies drop a rain of weapons and armor, from common trash to legendary items with game-changing perks. You can mod your gear to create some ridiculously fun builds. Want to teleport behind enemies and slice them up with a spinning blade, or freeze a whole crowd solid then shatter them? Go for it. By the time you hit the end game, you'll feel like an absolute badass with the right loadout, and the game's challenge ramps up to match, with tough expeditions and bosses that really test your build. Now, Outriders isn't a flawless gem. The story is a pulpy sci-fi romp, entertaining in a cheesy way but not very deep, and it had some technical hiccups early on. But the developers have patched it up, and importantly, they delivered a complete experience. No microtransactions, no endless live service grind, just a beefy campaign and endgame that you can enjoy at your own pace. It's a blast solo, but it truly shines in co-op, where coordinating abilities and reviving each other when things go sideways brings out the best in the chaotic gameplay. If you and your friends are looking for a satisfying shooter to sink a weekend into, Outriders is a great choice. It's the kind of game where you can kick back, blow up a bunch of bad guys with outrageous powers, and cheer when a sweet piece of loot drops. Don't let this one slip under your radar. It's rough around the edges, but it's an absolute riot when the bullets and fireballs start flying. If you're into stylish, fast-paced platformers with a touch of the surreal, Solar Ash is a hidden gem you'll want to check out. This game comes from the creators of Hyper Light Drifter, and it takes that game's dreamy neon aesthetic into a 3D world. You play as Ray, a void runner exploring a bizarre, colorful realm inside a black hole called the Ultra Void. Sounds wild? It absolutely is. The skies are full of floating ruins, strange cloudy platforms, and gigantic creatures roaming about. The best part, you traverse this world with incredible speed and grace, almost like you're skating on clouds. Movement in Solar Ash is pure joy. Ray glides, skates, and parkours effortlessly, and the game encourages you to keep moving fluidly at all times. You'll be grinding along rails made of neon light, chain dashing across gaps, and skating up the sides of enormous creatures. It's one of those games where once you get the rhythm down, you feel unstoppable, zipping from one end of a level to the other without touching the ground. The sense of scale is also impressive. At times, you'll be climbing and skating on massive, shadowy monsters, taking them down by hitting their weak points in a very Shadow of the Colossus-esque fashion. Except here, you're doing it in high speed, almost like an action platformer version of a boss rush. The art style is gorgeous. Imagine a neon-tinted cloudscape with surreal landscapes and a synthy sci-fi vibe. Each area feels distinct, with its own color palette and atmosphere, from shattered floating cities to eerie lava caverns. It's a treat for the eyes, and the soundtrack complements it with atmospheric, dreamlike tunes that draw you further into this strange world. The story is somewhat minimalist. You're essentially trying to save your planet by destroying the black hole from within. But there are bits of lore and the occasional character you meet that add a touch of humanity to the abstract setting. There's also some light combat and puzzle solving along the way. Combat is pretty simple. You slash at gooey monsters and focus on weak points, especially during boss fights. The real challenge is more about mastering the traversal and figuring out how to reach that next floating island or climb a giant boss without slipping off. Fortunately, the game is fairly forgiving if you mistime a jump, keeping frustration low and the momentum up. Solar Ash flew under a lot of people's radar, possibly because it doesn't fit neatly into one genre, but that's also what makes it special. It's part high-speed platformer, part action-adventure, with a sprinkle of heart from its narrative if you dig for it. Above all, it's a blast just to move around in its world. If you want a game that's all about the feel of movement and exploring a crazy cool landscape, give Solar Ash a try. Once you dive into the Ultra Void, you might not want to come back out, and you'll have a neon-colored grin on your face the whole time. Ever dream of stepping into a coloring book? Chicory. A colorful tale lets you do just that. In this adorable top-down adventure, the world has lost its color, and it's up to you, a little dog armed with a magical paintbrush, to bring back the hues. You paint everything around you, not just for fun, but to solve puzzles and help out quirky animal villagers. Paint a tree and it might suddenly grow to form a bridge, or erase it and it shrinks away. The whole world reacts to your art, which makes exploration feel fresh and creative. What really hooked me is how Chicory feels like a classic adventure game at heart. Think old school Zelda, but your mighty sword is a paintbrush. You wander through forests, towns, and caves that are all black and white outlines, coloring them in as you go. As you unlock new paint abilities, like different brush styles or even the power to swim through your paint, you can access new areas and find secrets. There are even boss encounters where you use painting in clever ways to win. They're not about violence, more about creativity under pressure. And if you want, a second player can grab a controller and paint alongside you in co-op, which is a fantastic touch for playing with a friend or younger sibling. Beyond the charming gameplay, Chicory's story has a lot of heart. It tackles the struggles of creativity and self-doubt in a way that's surprisingly down to earth and touching. One minute you're decorating a donut shop for a critter in need, and the next you're reflecting on what it means to live up to expectations. It's sweet, positive, and never gets too stressful. More about relaxing and enjoying the journey than giving you a big challenge. And don't worry if you're no artist. The game encourages you no matter what. It even finds cute ways to appreciate your messy doodles. The characters might gush over your abstract art as if it's genius, so you'll always feel good about your creations. If you're looking for a feel-good game that sparks your imagination, Chicory, A Colorful Tale, is a gem you should try. It's the kind of experience that'll leave you smiling as you literally paint the world, and maybe even inspire a bit of creativity in you. Trust me, this charming adventure will add a lot of color to your gaming life. Imagine the Wild West, but not the one from history. One filled with witches, werewolves, and other nightmares lurking on the prairie. Weird West takes that concept and runs wild. This is an action RPG with an immersive sim soul. Not surprising, since it's made by some of the folks behind Dishonored and Prey. It drops you into a gritty spaghetti western world, mixed with dark fantasy elements. Think cowboys riding alongside wendigos and demons, six-shooters and shotguns paired with magic and curses. The result is a setting that feels familiar and totally unique at the same time. There's really nothing quite like this world. You'll play through the intertwining tales of 5 heroes, from a tough bounty hunter to a revenge-seeking pigman and beyond. Each chapter flows into the next, and things you do in one story can affect the others. What makes Weird West really shine is the freedom to tackle situations however you want. If a gang of bandits is holed up in a town, you could go in guns blazing, or try something clever like sneaking onto a rooftop to toss dynamite into their camp. The game actively encourages creativity. Almost everything in the environment can be used to your advantage, whether it's shooting explosive barrels, igniting oil spills, or bypassing danger altogether through stealth or dialogue. As you roam the Weird West, you'll also do typical RPG stuff. Loot weapons and gear, upgrade your skills, like special abilities with firearms or magic-like powers tied to artifacts, and build reputation based on your deeds. The world is semi-open. You travel between locations on a map, which can lead to random encounters like ambushes or strange events. And trust me, strange is the operative word. You might stumble on a hidden shrine that grants you a boon, or a traveling salesman who's more than he appears. The presentation is more on the indie side. Don't expect Red Dead Redemption visuals here, but it has a distinct comic book art style and atmospheric music that fits the eerie Western vibe. The writing is also a high point. It's subtly woven into the world, with lore to discover and morally gray choices that can lead to different outcomes. Overall, Weird West is one of those games that flew under the radar but offers a rich, sandboxy adventure for those willing to delve into its strange frontier. If you love games that let you get creative and don't mind a little macabre weirdness in your westerns, this is is definitely one gem worth saddling up for. Bugsnax might look like a Saturday morning cartoon, cute, googly-eyed creatures that are half bug, half snack. But don't be fooled. This game is a lot more than cutesy critters and catchy theme songs about catching Bugsnax. You arrive on Snacktooth Island, a place teeming with bizarre edible animals, think burger beetles and ribcage centipedes, to uncover the fate of a lost explorer and help a colony of Muppet-like grumpuses who love eating these Bugsnax. It's a first-person adventure where the core gameplay is all about hunting and capturing those tasty creatures, but each one is like a little puzzle to solve. You'll set up traps, use sauces as bait, ketchup-flavored caterpillar, anyone? And devise clever tricks to snag that elusive bunger or strabby. What makes Bugsnax special is the mix of its lighthearted concept with an underlying mystery. On the surface, it's charming and funny. Each character has a big personality, and feeding them Bugsnax actually changes their limbs into food, which is hilarious and kind of creepy at the same time. But as you progress, you start to realize something strange is going on with the island and the Bugsnax themselves. The story can even venture into surprisingly dark territory at times. I won't spoil anything, but by the end you might be shocked at how deep and emotional this colorful game gets. The contrast between the quirky, upbeat tone and the eerie mystery lurking in the background keeps you hooked the whole way through. The fun factor is off the charts here. Catching each Bugsnax feels rewarding because you have to experiment with your tools in the environment. Maybe you'll lure a fire-breathing chili pepper bug into a puddle to cool it off, or trip a running sandwich with a well-placed trap. There's a ton of variety in the creatures, 100 different Bugsnax to collect, and the game encourages you to find them all. Meanwhile, you're also completing side quests for your Grumpus buddies, learning their stories and watching the community grow. In the end, Bugsnax is a tasty little adventure with a lot of heart. It's the kind of game that can make you laugh with its absurdity and then surprisingly tug at your heartstrings. If you enjoy games like Pokemon or Ape Escape and want something truly unique, give Bugsnax a try. It's weird, it's wonderful, and it's definitely worth biting into. Trust me, you'll be snack crazy by the time the credits roll. Sometimes you just want to feel free as a bird while you play a game. The Pathless nails that feeling by making movement itself the star of the show. This gem comes from the studio behind Abzu, and it takes you to a sprawling mystical island covered in a dark curse. You play as the Hunter, an archer tasked with restoring light to the land alongside your companion, a beautiful eagle that helps you soar through the skies. There's no map clutter, no mini-quest icons everywhere. The Pathless just encourages you to explore and find your own way, and it's one of the most refreshing, open-world-ish experiences because of that. What grabs you immediately in the Pathless is how fluid the movement is. As the Hunter, you're able to sprint at high speeds across fields and ruins, but here's the twist. Your stamina is tied to hitting targets scattered in the environment with your bow. Every time you shoot one, and these shots auto-lock so you can fire on the move, you get a burst of speed. So you fall into this rhythmic flow of running, shooting, and maintaining momentum. It's almost like a dance, and with the adaptive soundtrack swelling as you pick up speed, it can give you goosebumps. Your eagle friend adds to the traversal too. It can carry you into the air, effectively letting you double jump or even fly short distances. As you find collectibles, you can upgrade the eagle to flap multiple times, allowing you to reach higher and higher places. The result? Traversing this island feels empowering and graceful, like an endless parkour run where you never want to stop. The island itself is filled with puzzles and secrets rather than hordes of enemies. You might align mystical obelisk by shooting arrows through rings or light torches by reflecting beams. The puzzles are clever but never too obtuse, perfect for breaking up the high-speed travel with some brain teasers. When it comes to combat, the Pathless does something interesting. Instead of lots of little fights, it features a few epic boss encounters. These bosses are the source of the curse, huge corrupted spirit animals. Think giant cursed elk or a fiery winged serpent. These bosses don't just wait around, you often have to chase them across their domains, sprinting after a raging beast and dodging its attacks until you can bring it down for a final confrontation. Taking each one out lifts the curse in that area, bringing back color and life in a stunning burst which feels incredibly rewarding. Visually and musically, the Pathless is stunning. Lush forests, snowy mountains, and ancient ruins stretch out in front of you, all rendered in a vibrant, painterly art style that gives the whole adventure a timeless, mythic vibe. And the music? It dynamically rises and falls with your actions, making every moment, whether you're quietly solving a puzzle or in a full sprint, feel epic and meaningful. Despite not having the high profile of some bigger titles, the Pathless offers a unique and moving experience. It's about the joy of movement, the thrill of discovery, and the bond between a hunter and her eagle. If you're looking for a game to zen out with and lose yourself in, this is one path you won't regret taking. Just get ready to run, glide, and soar across one of the most most beautiful game worlds out there. While the PS5's launch had heavy hitters like Demon's Souls and Spider-Man, Miles Morales, one little gem got a bit overshadowed. Sackboy, a big adventure. Don't let its quieter profile fool you. Sackboy is an absolute delight, especially if you love platformers or want something fun to play with family and friends. This game takes the cute burlap mascot from Little Big Planet and puts him in his own 3D platforming adventure, and it's bursting with creativity and charm. Right from the get-go, Sackboy charms you with its whimsical world. Each level is like a craft project come to life. Imagine worlds made of yarn, paper, and other arts and crafts materials, all stitched together into playful obstacle courses. The graphics are colorful and incredibly detailed. You can see the fuzz on Sackboy's fabric and the little button eyes of enemies. More importantly, the level design is constantly throwing new ideas at you. One stage might have you bouncing on drumheads to a funky beat, another might turn into a top-down maze, and another syncs up every platform and enemy movement to a pop song. Those musical levels are a real highlight. It's hard not to grin when you realize everything is dancing to the music. The gameplay is approachable but still engaging. Sackboy can run, jump, roll, and slap enemies with a cute little swat. It starts simple, but as you progress, the challenge ramps up with trickier jumps and clever gadgets like a grappling hook or boomerang. The difficulty stays family-friendly. It's the kind of game a kid can play and have fun, but completionists will still find a challenge in snagging every collectible orb and acing levels without dying. Plus, it supports up to 4-player co-op, both local and online, which is where the game shines brightest. Chaos and laughter ensue when you've got multiple sack people running around, accidentally whacking each other while trying to solve a puzzle or race to the finish. It's a perfect pick for a couch co-op night. Even if you go solo though, Sackboy's adventure is a feel-good experience. It doesn't ask too much of the player, it's more about the joy of discovery and the tactile wonder of its world. If you've had a stressful day, popping into Sackboy's knitted universe is almost like a warm hug. It's just pure, lighthearted fun. And at the same time, it's polished and inventive enough to keep seasoned gamers interested too. In the end, Sackboy, a big adventure, is a reminder that not every great game needs to be a blockbuster epic. Sometimes a cozy, imaginative platformer hits the spot. So if you missed this one at the PS5's launch, easy to do given the competition, consider giving Sackboy a chance. It's guaranteed to put a smile on your face, and maybe get your toes tapping too with that awesome soundtrack. And there you have it, 20 PS5 hidden gems that were probably chilling in the corner of your backlog, quietly whispering, "Pick me, I'm actually amazing." It's kind of wild, right? Some of these games offer deeper stories, tighter gameplay, and way more heart than half the stuff trending on the front page. And yet, crickets. But not anymore. Now you know. And you, my friend, are officially in the cool crowd of gamers who don't just play what's popular. They dig deeper, explore wider, and sometimes accidentally fall in love with a game about feeding sentient fries to a fuzzy weirdo named Chandlo. So tell me, how many of these games were totally off your radar? Which one are you gonna try next? Or hey, did I miss one of your personal hidden gems? Drop it in the comments and let's build a shrine to the underrated together. If this video helped you discover even one new favorite, give it a thumbs up, hit that sub button, and consider it your good gaming karma for the day. Until next time, happy gaming. And remember, the best treasures are the ones you almost didn't find.